Varvatos was a useless, ugly demon lord who had no chick to clap due to his powers, so he unalived himself and reincarnated as Pete Davidson, whom all girls want. However, he had to hide his power or he would lose his baddies again. It all started when he was reborn as Artie, and on his 10th birthday, his mother mentioned that he was now a mature man, so he needed to focus on his dreams and aspirations. On returning to his room, Artie recalled that even in this life, he had still managed to retain his demon lord powers and strength. So he decided that it was the perfect time to live a normal life, develop plot as soon as possible, and forge bonds of friendship with humans. But then, the problem was this boy was reborn with zero social skills. However, he tried approaching a bunch of ugly-ass kids, but they scurried in fear because of how disgusting this boy's face was. Unrelenting, he tried rizzing up a group of girls. He walked up to the girls, demanded they hear him out, and then dropped a cringy Discord pickup line asking if they were coffins because he would love to be inside them. Of course, this scared the chicks away, and they ran for their dear lives. Feeling absolutely frustrated, he channeled his anger into the forest near his home, using magic to unleash explosions that tore through the poor trees and vegetation. After this, he went back home even more depressed, and then asked a family friend named Olhide for the best strategy on rizzing chicks. Olhide informed him that the only strategy he needed was the one to fix his disgusting face. Olhide also advised him to learn how to talk to girls in a kind and respectful manner. Upon hearing this, Artie was excited, so he ran off to implement this strategy. Just then, he bumped into the same group of kinky chicks from earlier, and this time, tried talking to them like a perfect gentleman. However, he only ended up being cringy and scaring the girls away again. In frustration, he moved to the forest to vent his anger on the poor trees as usual. That was when he heard the screams of a girl nearby. Using levitation magic, he immediately soared into the air like Superman to locate the source. Arriving at the scene, he saw a white-haired elf girl named Irina locked in a fierce battle with an ancient wolf. He initially considered stepping in to help, but before he could act, Irina activated a magic circle that electrocuted the wolf in an instant. Impressed, he approached her and complimented her extraordinary abilities. Summoning all his courage, he then asked if she would love to be his friend. Surprisingly, he got his first response, and feeling quite hopeful, he stepped closer, assuring her that they could build a wonderful relationship together. However, at that very moment, Irina shook her head in disapproval and ran off with tears in her eyes, saying he didn't understand a thing about her. She rushed back to her father Olhide, and with a warm embrace, asked him to take her away from the filthy countryside. Ard followed behind, and that was when he shockingly realized that Irina was Olhide's daughter. So from that day onwards, the worthless simp made it his goal to clap the chick at all costs, so he kept on stalking and surprising her with gifts. Irina initially thought he was just some disgusting creep, but her bias changed one fateful night. That night, Artie had revisited his plan pinned on the wall and decided to change tactics. After which he retired to bed, thinking about his next step. Just then, he heard screams outside, and on getting outside, he found out that the village was attacked by goblins. Suddenly, Olhide hurried to the scene, complaining that his daughter was all alone in the mountains. Arda immediately had a flashback, saying that it was because he had been chasing her like a creepy stalker, and that was why she fled to the mountains. So he immediately leaped to the sky like the Incredible Hulk, shocking everyone. At the same time, Irina was faced with a bunch of freaking-ass goblins who were determined to play with her. The Goblin King threatened to chew every part of her body, and it would be even more fun if she tried putting up a good fight. The Ugly told her she could also call her family and friends to help her if she wanted to. At that moment, Irina remembered that all her friends had deserted her because they thought she was a monster. With that, she told the Goblin that he could do with her as he so pleased since life had been so cruel to her. Surprised, the Goblin King informed the little goblins to proceed with the torture. As they charged towards her, suddenly, a sphere of electricity appeared, exploding and sending the goblins crashing to the ground. That moment, Artie appeared in the sky, and Irina happily called out his name for the first time. He told her he was there to save her, and he also hated those who bullied the weak. Without wasting a second, he blasted the little goblins with a thunderbolt. 2 other goblins tried attacking, but he turned them to dust with his demon eyes. Seeing this, the Goblin King became scared and tried to escape, but just with an eye sparkle, he vanished like he never existed. Afterwards, Irina asked why he had come to save her because she would have gladly joined her ancestors. She explained that she was lonely and isolated without any friends. However, Artie told her he understood loneliness more than anyone because he had been a lonely, hopeless virgin all his life. He then mentioned that he wanted her to be his friend. Irina, however, was concerned that he would abandon her just like all her friends did. But Artie assured her he wasn't a one-night stand kind of guy and was willing to stay with her. With that, he offered a handshake, and Irina placed her hands on his to seal their friendship. Several years later, Artie woke from a wet dream to find Irina lying on his bed so uncomfortably close. Startled, he asked if she was trying to rope him into paying child support. Unfazed, she replied that she wanted them to enroll together in the Academy of Magic for the next session. After the summer break, they arrived at the National Academy of Magic Institute to enroll. Inside, they met Gold, the headmaster, who was delighted to have kids of the three great heroes in the school. Artie, however, was confused as to what the disgusting fat-ass pig was talking about their parents being great heroes because, as far as he could remember, his father was a broke-ass nobody. In light of that, Gold informed them that they were exempted from participating in the practical entrance exam and would only have to take the written test. A few hours after the written tests, the entrance students gathered around the board to check their names. Just then, Irina found out that she had passed with a 9.4-point score and was now accepted to the academy. Artie, on the other hand, struggled to find his name on the list of accepted candidates. He then looked at the last name on the list and found out that he got accepted after scoring a 0 on the test. Artie got really confused and wondered what could be happening. Just then, the overgrown rat of a headmaster approached them, telling Artie that even though the answers he had provided were incorrect, it was only within the standards of their era. His answers far surpassed what had been hypothesized. Even hexagon-class mages would struggle to come up with such improvements. After saying that, Gold mentioned that Artie was a genius who had inherited the blood of the great mage of his father, Jack, and his mother, Carla, who had destroyed the resurrected evil god and protected the peace of the royal capital. Meanwhile, lurking in the shadows was a mysterious cat chick who observed all that was happening. On getting to class, the entire weak-ass students were all over Artie and Irina for being the kids of the country's hero. However, just then, two ugly bozos interrupted the scene and told Artie and Irina not to get too comfortable with their newfound popularity. Also, at that moment, they witnessed a dude bullying a pink-haired succubus named Ginny, so Irina moved to defend her. The shit-faced guy then introduced himself as Eldorado and then warned Irina not to poke her useless nose into matters that don't concern her. He revealed that Ginny's family had served his family for generations, making her his toy and granting him the authority to treat her however he pleased. Artie immediately stepped in, yelling at him to shut his filthy, disgusting mouth and demanding the idiot quit being Adolf Hitler. So Eldorado challenged him to a duel, declaring it the only way he would consider hearing him out. Before the situation went out of control, the mysterious cat lady, who turned out to be a teacher in the academy, entered the class asking what the commotion was all about. Artie immediately recognized the voice, and as he turned, he realized that the hot cat teacher was Olivia, one of his generals back when he was still Varvatos, the demon lord. He assumed that if Olivia found out he had reincarnated into a pathetic, sore loser, she would surely be furious that he abandoned his job to chase after youthful frivolities. However, at that moment, Olivia mentioned that she had granted permission for the duel to go on. With that, the students moved to the open field to commence the duel between Artie and Eldorado. Artie thought about finishing the duel without Olivia noticing that he was the demon lord. At that moment, Eldorado cast a magic circle, blasting Artie with massive fireballs, but Artie summoned an electric shield that extinguished the fire in the blink of an eye. Without hesitation, Artie used a forbidden spell, summoning multiple magical circles at once and blasted Eldorado with a powerful ball of fire that could roast even the devil himself. So with that, Eldorado immediately conceded, and that cemented the defeat of the proud, weak bastard. Irina quickly rushed over to congratulate Artie, while Ginny also thanked him for saving her from the bully. Olivia, on the other hand, had noticed Artie use the forbidden spell and found it unusual for a Year 1 student. So she approached him, asking how a loser like him could cast a defensive mega wall and also control a Giga Inferno. She leaned closer and, with a smirk, assured him that she would definitely find out who he truly was. Before long, the students gathered close to a dungeon for field training. Olivia then asked the students to form a group of 3. All the girls and disgusting boys rushed to form a group with Artie and Irina, the superstars. However, Irina suggested to Artie that they ditch the worthless, talentless losers and form a group with Ginny instead. Following that, the students moved into the dungeon. Inside, Olivia informed them that the goal of the field training was to eliminate and skin a hide of a black wolf. A few minutes later, Artie and Irina were faced with black wolves, but they quickly annihilated them, roasting them to dust. However, Ginny felt useless for not being able to help out, so Artie offered to teach her some very deep lessons. But after several lessons, Artie realized that the girl was totally hopeless and was finding it hard to learn. This was due to a loss of confidence from years of suffering and harassment her family had suffered. However, he encouraged her not to give up and then showed her a spell called split magic. Seeing this magic spell, the girls were highly impressed, and their floodgates wide open for penetration.
What do you mean by that?
Artie explained that it was a spell he had created using the mana within the atmosphere as its energy source into the magic circle. Soon after, the team advanced further into the dungeon, but suddenly, they accidentally fell into a trap that carried them all the way to the bottom floor of the dungeon. At that moment, they were faced with the final boss of the dungeon, a freaking minotaur. Artie immediately protected the girls and took down the minotaur that attacked them. When he was done, he asked Ginny to muster up some courage and try to deliver the finishing blow. Ginny initially got cold feet but soon summoned all the courage in the world. Fueled by the painful memories of her past, she stepped forward to face the minotaur. For the first time, she activated script magic and obliterated the creature in an instant. Following that, the team moved outside of the dungeon and showed Olivia the horns of the minotaur. The girls then mentioned that they were able to defeat the final boss because of the script magic Artie had taught them. Nervous, Artie tried so hard to explain that the girls were liars and he didn't teach them anything. But then, Eldorado and his group of lackeys started insulting Ginny, calling her an incompetent moron that had stuck with Artie just because she was too useless to go into the dungeon alone. Growing sick of their worthless faces, Ginny moved towards Eldorado and then slapped his ugly fat-ass face. Irina followed by placing a trash bin over his head, declaring it the perfect place for his worthless head. Several weeks later, in the headmaster's office, Gold asked Artie to participate in the student battle event that the Queen would be attending. He explained that this event was the perfect opportunity for the school to appeal for a greater budget. Although reluctant, Artie agreed to participate since it was for the good of the school and students. While leaving the headmaster's office, Artie ran into Ginny in the hallway, who asked him out on a date. He tried to refuse, but with those two massive reasons on her chest, his mouth moved on his own, and he accepted. Just then, Irina popped out of nowhere, insisting she also wanted to go on a date. Ginny agreed, saying there was room for every woman because Artie was a man with great harem potential. So with that, Artie and his chicks all went on a date. Their first stop was the movie theater, where they watched a play. However, Artie was disgusted when he realized that the play was all about his past life as Varvagos and also about his dead babe Lydia. In the play, Lydia was depicted as a loving and caring elf, but Artie knew that back then, Lydia was far from caring. She was a feisty one. After the horrible play, they walked down the street to find a good restaurant. That was when Artie stumbled upon a low-budget illuminating group from Temu plotting the assassination of the Queen. So with that, Artie decided to trail the group with his ladies, who were falling behind into the sewer to uncover their plans. On getting inside the sewer, Artie and the girls were ambushed by the masked group. Without wasting time, the ugly leader of the group activated the magical circle, instantly engulfing Artie in flames. However, the disgusting leader of the group with a face worse than Blobfish was shocked to the bones when he realized that the fire did not harm the Gigachad. Just then, Artie extinguished the flames, activated a magical circle, and electrocuted the entire group with a dark electric current, leaving the leader behind for interrogation. However, the group leader refused to back down and then transformed into a full-winged demon. Without wasting time, the demon immediately blasted a hole through the roof of the sewer and then escaped. But then, Artie activated a levitation spell and chased after the demon relentlessly while unleashing a torrent of powerful flames behind. Realizing he was outmatched, the demon took a little girl hostage and threatened to snap her neck. Sensing that the presence of the demon was sending the citizens to a state of panic, Artie decided to calm the citizens. He introduced himself as the son of the great mage and assured them that the demon was as good as dead meat. Hearing this, the demon grew angry and decided to carry out his threat earlier, but that was when he realized that the little girl was out of his grip. Without hesitation, Artie immediately activated a spell known as the Flash of Babel that pulverized the demon out of existence. With the demon defeated, the little girl's mother thanked Artie for saving her daughter, and the citizens celebrated him, calling him the strongest man alive. The following day, the Queen summoned Artie and his girls to thank Artie for saving the people. She offered to reward him by giving him a lap dance with no plot armor, but Irina jumped in and rejected the reward, saying Artie was hers alone. With that, the Queen then decided to reward Artie by promoting him to the rank of Pentagon-class mage. But Artie declined and then asked her to increase the school's academy budget instead. Hearing this, the queen was highly impressed by his humility and compassion and would love to have his babies for real. So she informed him that she would increase the school's budget as he had demanded and would also grant him Pentagon status. But the queen's shitty-face advisor tried advising that she was making a hasty decision. However, she asked him to shut his worthless, stinky mouth and go get a life. Elsewhere, the Illuminati group cooked up an evil plan, only this time they recognized Artie's strength and promised not to fail. The following day, during the lunch break, a random chick proposed love to Artie, but the top G declined, saying he didn't need any more nutcases in his harem. Just then, Irina bumped into the scene and immediately became jealous, boiling with fury at the thought of Artie unlocking another girl in his already weird harem. Meanwhile, at the headmaster's office, Gold informed Professor Jessica, one of the resident teachers in the academy, that Artie had refused to participate in the upcoming battle event. Gold also mentioned that he had intended to appoint Artie as an instructor at the academy, but the nobles strongly opposed the idea, insisting they would never accept a commoner as a teacher. With that, he had thought out the perfect plan for showcasing Artie's exceptional abilities at the upcoming battle event. Seeing Artie's abilities, the nobles would have no choice but to accept the decision. Hearing this, Jessica assured him she would handle the situation. Later that night, Ginny visited Artie in his room, dressed in a thirsty outfit to seduce him using her succubus powers. She leaned close to him on the bed and intended to commence deep-throating lessons with his charged Excalibur. Irina, on the other hand, felt really bad for throwing jealous tantrums earlier on, so she decided to make amends. Dressed in a sauce cloth, she entered Artie's room to show she was also a baddie in the sheet, but accidentally bumped into Ginny, already displaying her swallowing skills. She instantly became jealous, and both girls started to fight for the hot stuff and even challenge each other to a duel. The winner would keep Ard, but the loser would have to roam the street without any plot armor. Nice. Suddenly, Jessica stormed into the room and suggested the girls participate in the upcoming battle event as Artie's students. She explained that in so doing, they would help facilitate the plans to make Artie an instructor, and they could also accomplish the goal of dueling each other. With that, the girls eagerly and excitedly agreed. On the day of the highly anticipated duel, the crowd buzzed in the Colosseum. Just then, the battle commenced, and the students immediately challenged each other. Meanwhile, the judges for the battle were Artie's parents, the country heroes, and Irina's father, the heroic Baron. On the other hand, Artie and Olivia watched from within the crowd. When it was Irina's turn, even though she fumbled a little, she used split magic, electrocuting the girl, and won her match. So throughout the first stage of the duel, both Irina and Ginny went on destroying the asses of all the contestants and eventually ended up qualifying for the finals. Just as they were about to commence the final match, one of the masked men stood up from within the crowd and transformed into a winged goblin. Suddenly, other masked men transformed into winger goblins and began to attack the students, throwing the entire arena into a state of pandemonium. So Irina and Ginny fought as a team, blasting the demons with fire. Suddenly, a monster crystal emerged from the ground and attacked the girls. They tried using fire magic on the monster, but their attack was as useless as their clapped, worthless bodies. At that moment, the monster began to advance towards them, but Olide intercepted to defend his daughter, and he eventually obliterated the monster. However, he was stabbed in the gut by Professor Jessica, who shockingly revealed her true name to be Elzard and was working for the enemies. She mentioned that her mission was to capture Irina, and then asked Irina to surrender herself quietly. Ginny attempted to attack, but Elzard quickly summoned a protective barrier to shield from her fire blast. Elzard then unleashed a powerful gust of wind energy, which slammed Ginny to the ground. To avoid Elzard ending Ginny's pathetic existence, Irina surrendered herself, begging Elzard not to harm Ginny. With that, Elzard unfurled her demon wings, seized Irina, and took to the sky, leaving Ginny helpless. Few minutes later, at the nurse's office, Olide was healed by Artie, so Olide informed him that Elzard, the frenzied king of dragons, had abducted Irina. Upon hearing this, the old fart revealed that Elzard was the demon who nearly destroyed the world several years ago, and then wondered what she might possibly want with Irina. However, Artie promised to rescue Irina as soon as possible. Later on, Olide took Artie down to the royal treasury and then asked him to take any weapon he was okay with. Before Artie left for the rescue mission, Jack advised Olide to tell Artie the truth about Irina's true nature. However, Olide feared that Artie might refuse to save his daughter if he found out. He recalled how happy his daughter used to be whenever Artie was around, and wouldn't want to destroy that for the world. Meanwhile, Irina woke to find herself bound with magic cuffs and a transparent magic sphere. Elzard, now in her demon form, informed her that she needed the blood running in her family. She then revealed a monster called the Orphan of Chaos, created using the flesh from the many evil gods the demon lord had slain. She went on to inform Irina that by sacrificing her to this monster, she could summon one of the evil gods from another dimension and then destroy the world that had become soft and weak. However, Irina mentioned that Artie would definitely save her. Still, Elzard replied, telling her that if Artie got to discover her secret, then he would despise her as a monster, after which she cancelled the magic sphere around Irina and then ordered the monster to eat her up nicely. On the way to the rescue mission, Ginny hurriedly approached Artie asking to join in the rescue mission because Irina had once protected her as a friend. However, Artie smiled and then promised to bring Irina back just in time for dinner. Meanwhile, as the Orphan of Darkness was about to take over Irina's body, Artie appeared just in time to pulverize the freaking beast out of extinction. Making a dramatic entrance, he declared that none of the demons would escape his wrath. Without hesitation, he unleashed split magic, disintegrating the demons to a crisp before their eyes. Elzard, however, narrowly managed to evade the devastating attack and then revealed Irina's true nature to Artie. She told him Irina was royalty and carried the blood of the evil gods. However, even after finding out the truth, Artie told Elzard that it didn't matter if Irina was descended from the evil gods or if she was an evil god herself. What truly mattered was that she was kind and more courageous than anyone he had met. Shocking Irina. Angered by his words, Elzard blasted him with mystic energy. But Artie nullified the attack using his spear. Shocked, Elzard continued to attack with mystic energy. But Artie countered the attack by casting magical circles that engulfed her in powerful flames. After that, Artie hurled his spear at Elzard, impaling her and smacking her ugly ass to the ocean. But at that moment, Elzard decided to transform into an abomination and started to attack Artie with mystic energy. But he deflected her attack by creating an impenetrable barrier. Just then, Artie summoned Lydia's spirit from his sword, asking her to ride with him for the first time in a long time. With that, Artie regained his demon lord form and then attacked Elzard. The two traded energy blasts until it looked like Elzard was about to overwhelm Artie. Just then, Irina screamed, urging Artie not to lose to the worthless, snotty demon. With that encouragement, Artie released his limiters and activated Phase 2 of his powers. This time, his armor analyzes his environment and controls it to help him take down the dragon right in front of them. With a massive blast that shook the very foundation of the earth, Artie completely annihilated her instantly. Several days later, inside a cave, a girl named Sylphie, the younger sister of Lydia, finally decided to leave the cave after training for 3 years. On getting to the city, she was frozen in space to see so much development on the street. She immediately ran into an alley to get a grip on herself. That was when she encountered a mysterious masked man who disclosed to her that she had indeed spent 3,000 years inside the dungeon since time flowed differently in there. While they walked, the masked man revealed that he also served Varvatos as his master alongside her sister Lydia. Upon hearing Varvatos' name, Sylphie inquired to know about the demon lord. The masked guy informed her that the demon lord was dead, but his soul had reincarnated back to the world as a useless nobody named Artie Meteor. So if she wanted to know about the whereabouts of her sister, Artie was in the best position to give her the information. In the meantime, Gold informed Artie and his wives of the upcoming festival, the school's main attraction that brings people from all over the country to raise funds for the school. He also mentioned that he would love them to participate in the show and help organize a play. He then showed Art a letter of threat from a group asking the Academy to cancel the festival. In that light, Gold asked Artie to participate in the play and patrol the school to ensure the festival went smoothly. Later on, while in class, Sylphie stormed in searching for Artie. She threatened to rip out his carrot from his scrawny body if she eventually found out who he was. At that moment, Olivia appeared from nowhere and then gave Sylphie a head-resetting smack, asking her to stop creating a scene. Olivia mentioned that she was still an immature flat brat even after 3,000 years. Even though Artie tried his best to hide his presence, Sylphie somehow caught wind of his disgusting smell, shocking him. He wondered how the flat surfboard had found out he was the one. Olivia, on the other hand, called him the reincarnated demon lord in front of everyone, while Artie pretended like he had no idea what the ugly creep was talking about. But then, Irina got fed up with the psychotic girl, slammed the table and told her that a flat ward had no right to talk to her man in such a manner. After which she challenged her to a duel, but on seeing Irina, Sylphie could see a spitting image of her sister Lydia. Realizing the situation was the perfect opportunity to uncover if Artie was truly Varvatos reincarnated, Olivia suggested Artie fought the duel himself. So with that, the students moved to an open field for the duel. There, Irina urged Artie to beat the shapeless maniac in 3 seconds. Angry at those words, Sylphie swore to beat Ard Blue-Black and immediately charged at him at ultra speed, and the two clashed swords. Artie, on the other hand, was determined to go easy on the girl and try not to blow his cover, but this girl had a very good talent for annoying anyone, even a monk. So even at his weakest, he still ended up destroying the weak-ass buffoon. With that, Olivia declared Artie the winner of the duel, but Sylphie refused to accept defeat and then summoned her berserk sword. She unleashed an evil energy blast in an attempt to end Artie, but he deflected the attack by casting a magical shield. As she moved for a second attack, Olivia called her attention to the students who had been knocked unconscious as a result of her poisonous attacks. Olivia then scolded her for behaving irresponsibly, and even Irina stepped in and scolded Sylphie for being too careless with her powers. Sylphie suddenly became remorseful and apologized for her wrongdoing. Following that, Artie briefed the class on the upcoming festival and the decision to reenact the adventures of the Demon Lord in the play. He informed them he would be playing the role of the Demon Lord, while Sylphie suggested Irina played the role of Lydia because of their striking resemblance. Then, when it was time to choose the role of the evil god, nobody wanted to play the villain, so Sylphie picked the role of the villain since it would give her the perfect opportunity to get back at Artie. Then it was time to choose the outfit the class would be putting on. Ginny suggested the girls wear revealing maid outfits because it was a guaranteed success that would surely attract the cultured audience. However, the girls were against putting on such a thirsty outfit, but Sylphie offered to be the first person to wear it. But Ginny mentioned that her flat plots wouldn't fit anyway. At last, the day of the festival arrived, so Artie and Irina began their assigned duties, patrolling the streets for any potential threats to the festival's peace. During their rounds, they discussed the weird tree in front of them. Olivia, who somehow managed to be there, informed them about an ancient holy sword of royalty hidden inside the tree, after which she casually informed Artie that he would participate in the festival's main event, the Sword King's Battle Tournament. She also mentioned that she would be competing as well. Artie tried to explain that he was already part of the drama team, but Olivia shut his filthy mouth and then forced him to juggle both responsibilities. Shortly afterwards, Artie stopped by the maid cafe to check on the girls. Seizing the opportunity, the girls decided to practice their maid skills on him, showering him with flirtatious attention. Overcome with jealousy, Irina burst into the cafe, yelling at Artie for abandoning her to patrol alone. Ginny stepped in, pointing out they were merely practicing their services as maids. Irina then snapped and said she could provide service too, instantly changing into a maid outfit. She wasted no time commanding the other magnum-crating chicks to back off. Ginny, furious at her possessiveness, fired back, accusing Irina of monopolizing Ard and declaring that Artie was every girl's daddy. Annoyed by Ginny's bold remark, Irina challenged her to a duel in the Sword King's Battle Tournament to settle, once and for all, who deserved the title of the main waifu. Hours later, the tournament began. Irina's first opponent was a useless weakling who barely lasted a moment before being swiftly defeated by her sword. Olivia's match was a farce, as her pathetic opponent surrendered without so much as a fight. Ginny, however, faced a formidable and burly adversary. Though initially overwhelmed, Ginny found strength in Ard's encouragement from the stands, rallying to deliver a decisive victory against the brute. The finals featured a clash between Artie and Olivia. Artie considered holding back to avoid blowing his cover, but worried it might look suspicious if he lost without putting up a fight. As their battle unfolded, Olivia gained the upper hand, eventually pointing her sword at Artie's neck. At that moment, however, Artie accidentally activated Mega Wall, sending Olivia flying out of the Colosseum. This use of prohibited magic led to his immediate disqualification. Finally, the highly anticipated duel for the title of waifu began between Irina and Ginny. Both girls fought with everything they had, but in the end, Irina emerged victorious. While this was ongoing, the masked figure observed the festival from a high vantage point, silently watching the unfolding events. The school play soon began, with everyone dressed in their costumes. When Sylphie saw Irina portraying Lydia, she couldn't help but see visions of her late sister in her. As the play progressed, the girls in the audience couldn't help but cream their peaches, watching Artie take on the role of the Demon Lord. For Artie, however, the performance stirred memories of a battle from his past life as Varvatos. In that battle, he had fought alongside Lydia and Sylphie against an ugly commander and his army. During the fight, Sylphie felt completely useless, convinced that everyone, including her sister, looked down on her. But Varvatos reassured her, explaining that Lydia's harshness stemmed from her desire to protect her from throwing her useless life away. Fired up by this encouragement, Lydia led their side to victory by detonating bombs she had secretly planted across the battlefield. Although the plan was reckless, with no consideration for how their team would escape without being blown to minced meat, it miraculously succeeded. Back in the present at the end of the play, Sylphie spotted a white-haired girl leaving the theater and immediately assumed it was Lydia. She chased after her, only to encounter the creepy masked dude again. Hours later, Artie and Ginny grew increasingly worried about Sylphie's whereabouts, but to their surprise, she reappeared, walking toward them as if hypnotized. When she reached them, Sylphie confidently stated that she would defeat Irina in their final duel and then instructed Artie to meet her at the Tree of the Sword King afterwards. Shortly after, the duel between Sylphie and Irina began. Wasting no time, Irina teleported behind Sylphie and knocked her out with a single strike, shocking everyone. However, Artie immediately sensed something was amiss. Later, Artie met Sylphie at the Tree of the Sword King, where she declared her intent to eliminate him. The massive sword in her hand began to glow as she revealed it to be the holy sword once wielded by the legendary Sword Knight, a divine weapon once cherished by Lydia. Sylphie explained that the sword had been sealed in the Tree of the Sword King, and without hesitation, summoned her poisonous blade. Wielding both swords, she unleashed a relentless flurry of attacks on Artie, who evaded them with difficulty. Ard quickly activated Skywalker, levitating into the air to evade further strikes. While attempting to escape, he wondered if Sylphie had been brainwashed. However, Sylphie pursued him relentlessly. Before this happened, the masked guy had placed his hand on Sylphie's head, showing her a distorted memory of the past. In this vision, Varvatos had supposedly isekai'd Lydia. Still in disbelief that Artie had annihilated Lydia, the dude then brainwashed Sylphie and ordered her to assassinate the Demon Lord. Back in the present, Sylphie managed to slash Artie's back, forcing him to crash to the ground. With that attack, she celebrated what she believed was the death of the one who had sent her beloved sister to Nirvana. Meanwhile, Irina and Ginny, who had been spying on them under the impression that Sylphie was about to confess her feelings to Artie, attempted to intervene to save him. However, Sylphie nearly sent both of them to an early grave before Artie reappeared, transforming into Varvatos. So Sylphie abandoned the worthless girls to focus on her true target, Varvatos. This time, Varvatos managed to neutralize the hypnosis controlling Sylphie. Realizing he had lost control over her, the masked guy emerged, ready to face Varvatos himself. He revealed his plan to revive his master and stated that sacrificing Irina was essential for his success. However, he admitted that Artie had been a constant obstacle to his goals. Seizing the holy and poisonous swords, the masked dude charged at Varvatos. But despite his efforts, Varvatos defeated him without breaking a sweat, beating him down like a useless thief. Harnessing the immense power of the poisonous blade, Varvatos obliterated the masked dude, erasing him from existence. In the aftermath, Lydia's spirit emerged from the blade. She spoke to Sylphie, urging her not to blame Varvatos for her death, as it wasn't his fault. Instead, she encouraged Sylphie to live her life to the fullest, free of regret and resentment. Several weeks later, during a school trip, time suddenly came to a halt. In that frozen moment, Artie and the girls fell into a mysterious trance. They found themselves in a white void, where they encountered a strange, white-haired girl who introduced herself as a god. She informed them of a powerful being intent on disrupting the world's order. She further revealed that an encounter between this being and the Demon Lord would shake the very foundations of the world, resulting in one of them disappearing. The god then sought Artie's help to eliminate this threat. When the trance ended, Artie and the girls awoke to find themselves transported to an ancient era, the time when Varvatos reigned as the Demon Lord. With that, Artie explained to the girls that their return to the present depended on completing the god's mission. To achieve this, they would need an audience with Varvatos. Suddenly, they witnessed a girl being pursued by a death stinger, so without hesitation, Artie intervened and rescued her. The girl turned out to be one of Olivia's subordinates. Just then, Olivia arrived, and upon seeing her, the girls were shocked, but Olivia didn't recognize them. The next morning, Olivia took them to her base and proposed that Artie join her forces, impressed by his strength. Artie agreed, but only on the condition that Irina and Ginny could join alongside him and be placed under the command of Verda, a magician and scientist. Olivia, surprised, explained that most of Verda's troops consisted of magicians and scholars focused on logistics, not combat. However, with no other option, she agreed to assign them to Verda's command. Soon after, they arrived at Verda's base. Artie believed this was the safest option for Irina and Ginny, as being part of Verda's troop would minimize their exposure to danger. When they finally met Verda, Artie explained that they were from the future. The crazed scientist was thrilled by this revelation and eagerly offered to help find a way to send them back. However, their discussion was interrupted when Sylphie burst into the lab, attempting to grab Verda, only for Verda to skillfully evade her. Frustrated, Sylphie called for Lydia's assistance. When Lydia entered, Artie froze in space to see her alive again. However, Lydia immediately sees Verda, demanding to know why she had failed to send sufficient support units, threatening to unleash all sorts of nastiness if she didn't comply. Panicked, Verda offered to send Artie and the girls as support. Upon noticing Irina's portable melons, Lydia became mesmerized and began massaging her soft backside. Artie quickly intervened, separating the dyslexic elf girl from his wife. Furious at his actions, Lydia challenged him to a duel to settle their beef. The duel commenced, and the two traded blows better than UFC fighters from dawn until dusk until they were both exhausted. Impressed by his strength, Lydia requested to make use of his hands for some intense, deep stroking. In response, Artie demanded that she help him secure an audience with Varvatos. Lydia admitted that even her recommendation wouldn't be enough, as Varvatos was unlikely to accept him. She explained that Artie's only hope was to achieve something extraordinary and earn Varvatos' trust. Before long, Artie and the girls found themselves on the battlefield alongside the troops. However, Artie reassured the girls that, as part of Verda's unit, they were stationed far from the front lines, meaning the chances of encountering major conflict were minimal. Meanwhile, at the front, Sylphie led a ferocious charge under Lydia's command, cutting down a significant number of enemy soldiers. Back at the camp, Ginny and Irina were tasked with delivering supplies to the soldiers. However, their sense of safety was shattered when a disgusting-faced commander launched a surprise attack, raining electricity upon the camp. Shocked, the girls struggled to comprehend how the enemy had reached so deep into their territory. Artie quickly explained that targeting supplies was a common battle tactic meant to weaken the opposition. With that clarification, he stepped forward to confront the attackers. At the same time, back at the warfront, Lydia was alarmed to learn that Verda's supporting unit had been ambushed by the enemy commander. Meanwhile, at the rear, Artie unleashed his power, activating a magical circle that incinerated the weak-ass ugly commander into nothing but ash. When Lydia and Sylphie arrived to assess the situation, they were astonished to find the threat completely eradicated. In recognition of this impressive victory, the team was summoned to the capital for an audience with Varvatos. Inside the magnificent castle, they stood before Varvatos himself, whose hot face was rizzing up the girls. As they mentioned the term Demon Lord, Varvatos raised an eyebrow and questioned who they were referring to. Artie swiftly intervened, explaining that Demon Lord was another title by which he was known. However, it became clear that Varvatos had no idea what Artie was talking about. Varvatos revealed that there was another Demon Lord who had risen to power and was likely the source of this confusion. He expressed curiosity about why they had mistaken him for that figure. Later, while discussing the meeting with Verda, she clarified that the Demon Lord of their world and the one from Artie's world were two entirely different individuals. She went on to speculate that their timelines might not align perfectly, suggesting variations in their respective histories. At that moment, Artie recalled the trance they had experienced and the mission to eliminate the being attempting to alter the world by claiming the title of Demon Lord. Verda further explained that in this world, the Demon Lord had first appeared 3 years ago and had been conquering territories ever since. Despite Varvatos' attempts to negotiate, the Demon Lord had ignored their efforts, and even in direct combat, Varvatos had been unable to defeat him. Hearing this, Ginny proposed they meet Varvatos again to explain their situation. She suggested they reveal the truth about being from the future and warn him about the danger posed by the Demon Lord. Artie agreed that the idea made sense but understood that securing another audience with Varvatos would require an impressive feat to prove their worth. Soon after, Lydia sought Artie's help in a battle. However, Artie was hesitant upon learning they would face the Cursed King, a demon responsible for Lydia's possession in the past, which ultimately led to her demise. He realized this encounter could end with him having to destroy her. However, when they arrived at the Cursed King's city, they were shocked to find the Cursed King's head severed, already slain by the Demon Lord. As they processed the scene, the Demon Lord himself appeared and approached them. With a commanding presence, he instructed them to deliver a message to Varvatos, he was officially declaring war. The following day, Varvatos called an emergency meeting, summoning all his generals to discuss a critical decision. During the gathering, he declared his intent to wage war against the Demon Lord, with the ultimate goal of destroying the Demon Lord's castle. After the meeting concluded, Artie retreated to his room, lost in deep contemplation about how his actions were reshaping the course of history. He couldn't overlook the fact that Lydia, who was originally destined to perish during the attack on the cursed demon, was still alive. As Artie wrestled with these thoughts, the Demon Lord appeared unexpectedly in his room. To Artie's astonishment, the Demon Lord revealed that he knew Artie was from the future. Removing his helmet, the Demon Lord unveiled a face identical to Artie's, leaving him utterly stunned that the Demon Lord was his alter ego. The Demon Lord explained that he had been sent from another time and world with a mission to save Lydia, and proposed that they join forces to accomplish this goal. Artie hesitated at first, but moved to accept the offer by extending his hand. Just then, Lydia's voice echoed in his mind, urging him not to proceed. Sensing his reluctance, the Demon Lord offered him more time to decide, stating that he would await Artie's response in 3 days. Later that day, during lunch, Lydia approached Artie and informed him that they would be spending time together. Soon after, they set off into the streets, but what began as an outing quickly escalated into mortal combat, trading blows until they were both exhausted. After the intense workout, they eventually paused, and then Artie asked Lydia a serious question. What would she do if she had to sacrifice everything to save someone she held dear? Hearing this, Lydia decided to show him something. She led him to a ruined village haunted by the lingering spirits of the dead. She revealed that the village had once been attacked by demons, prompting her and her troops to retaliate. They had tried to reason with the surviving villagers, but the townsfolk, consumed by fear and distrust, launched a surprise attack during the night. In response, Lydia and her troops were forced to annihilate everyone in the village. With tears in her eyes, she confessed to Artie that she was a murderer and still bore the heavy guilt of the innocent lives she had taken. She begged Artie not to change her fate, insisting that someone like her wasn't worth the price of such a sacrifice. Finally, the day of the battle between Varvatos and the Demon Lord arrived. On the battlefield, Verda unveiled a low-budget Samsung transformer that wreaked havoc on the Demon Lord's forces. Meanwhile, Olivia and the other generals of Varvatos mercilessly cut down the demon army. However, in the command tent, Varvatos grew increasingly concerned about the Demon Lord's ever-growing forces, fearing they wouldn't be able to reach the castle in time. Elsewhere, Lydia and Sylphie continued their relentless assault, cutting through wave after wave of demons. At the same time, Artie confronted the Demon Lord in the ruins of the city. The Demon Lord demanded Artie's decision about his earlier proposal to join forces and save Lydia. However, Artie firmly rejected the offer, declaring that he wouldn't save Lydia because it wasn't what she wanted. Enraged by his response, the Demon Lord activated a series of magical circles and launched a fierce attack. Meanwhile, at Lydia's residence, Latima, one of Lydia's servants, approached Irina and Ginny. She conveyed Artie's instructions to escort them to the Demon Lord's castle. While on the journey, Latima revealed their mission: to destroy a magical sphere that granted the Demon Lord immortality. She explained that the ongoing battle was merely a distraction to keep the Demon Lord and his forces occupied while they infiltrated the castle. As they traveled, Latima was suddenly attacked, urging Irina and Ginny to press on without her. Upon entering the castle, the girls located the magical crystal. However, just as they prepared to destroy it, they were ambushed and restrained on a cross. To their shock, Latima reappeared, announcing that their powers had been sealed. Confused and betrayed, the girls demanded an explanation. At the same time, the Demon Lord showed Artie a magical visual of the captured girls through a portal. He warned Artie that if he valued their lives, he would join forces with him. Even so, Artie resolutely refused. In response, the Demon Lord remarked that while he wouldn't harm the girls, their fate would be uncertain once Varvatos' army reached the castle. Meanwhile, inside the castle, Irina and Ginny continued to question Latima about her sudden betrayal. Latima revealed that she had done everything to save her master, Lydia. In a flash, the girls activated split magic, breaking free from their restraints. However, Latima summoned monstrous beasts from the ground to attack them. Just as the situation grew dire, Lydia stormed into the castle, tracking the girls with the magic-infused hairpin she had given them. She swiftly defeated the monsters before confronting Latima. Lydia told Latima that she was ready to accept whatever fate awaited her, and then declared her determination to live and die as a champion. In a decisive move, Lydia leaped forward and shattered the crystal with her sword. The destruction of the crystal rendered the demon lord mortal once more, yet he remained resolute in his mission. Channeling his power, he activated Super Saiyan, and Artie, in turn, summoned Lydia's spirit and transformed into Varvatos mode. A fierce battle ensued as their blades clashed. In the end, Artie saw his chance and struck a decisive blow, defeating the demon lord. With his strength fading, the demon lord pleaded with Artie to save Lydia, professing his love for her. However, Artie delivered the final blow, impaling the demon lord's chest and obliterating him instantly. With the mission complete, Artie and the girls began to glow with a radiant light. Back in the demon lord's castle, Lydia turned to the girls, revealing that she had always known they were from the future. This revelation stunned the girls, who never suspected she was aware. After that, Lydia hugged them tightly before they eventually teleported. Back on the battlefield, the demon lord's defeat caused his monstrous army to retreat, securing Varvatos' victory in the war. Soon after, Artie found himself in a white ethereal space where the white-haired god congratulated him on successfully completing the mission. Moments later, Artie and the girls awoke to find themselves in a carriage with Olivia, who informed them they were about to begin their field trip. Overwhelmed with relief, the girls rejoiced at being back to the present. Meanwhile, Lydia's apparition appeared and gently nudged Artie forward to live his life fully, free of guilt or worries. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content like this. As always, thanks for watching.